slide. It could uphold a lot of the progressive policies and politics that we've come up with in the past, 5, 10 years, 20 years, all this legislation, or within one fell swoop, we can take a big step back. And so earlier I was talking about victory blindness. And it's the thing that happens to us when we are in the margins, or you're not in positions of power, and you do a lot of organizing and strategizing to push the envelope on one particular issue or another, and you get a victory. You can get a major victory. And sometimes we sit on that victory, and we're blinded to the new things that come up that we got to fight now. Let me give y'all an example. Black folks out there gonna feel some type of way. But Obama came in, we was happy he's black. Black power had a fist up. And then Obama out here dropping bombs on folks at a rate that is not altogether that different. Matter of fact, doing a lot of drone bombings in a way that's not altogether that different from presidents who have come before them. And there's even been conversations about how his role in Libya when he was elected has affected the things happening and the destabilization that's happening in Libya now. Also, people get blinded to victory and forget that Obama was deporting more people than anybody else because he got black skin, he got a little melanin on him, or a good little bit. That doesn't mean that his policies are going to be as progressive as our expectation of somebody to be in that position would be. It doesn't mean that there were not wins, but it does mean that people oftentimes are blinded to one large, very significant win, and they forget to organize on the ground. And a lot of people were very excited and expectant of Obama to carry the torch of blackness and black policy in a way that he ultimately did not. Now, he made progressions, absolutely, but that doesn't take the place of all the things that you do in your community events and grassroots organizing and strategizing. It doesn't take that away. So what we're seeing in this situation as it relates to this particular case is that the need to continue to fight. That's what it really exemplifies. It doesn't mean that all the things that were done before are null and void. It don't matter anymore. It means that we continue to fight. You continue to fight for the things that are worthy of our battle. We have to make sure that people are protected, because when we stop paying attention, there's opportunities like this that come up, and now we see that we're all the way to the Supreme Court, and we're wondering if all the legislation that has been pushed forward for progressive queer legislation might be taken back in one fell swoop. So it's fearful. So we have to be wary, absolutely wary of victory blindness. It can come and take us and hold us there, and then gains can be made on the other side. This is for all y'all activists out there. And we got to keep watching this. For y'all who are listening, watch this case, because it's going to be one of those landmark decisions that's going to change a lot of things coming up in the future, hopefully for the positive. Keep your eyes open. Stay woke, y'all. Stay woke. Stay woke. I hate people say that. But I mean, stay aware. Make sure you stay on top of this type of thing, because we want to know where it goes. I'm going to take a break on y'all, and I want y'all to be ready when we come back, because we're going to talk some more about what's going on with the Haitian TPS thing.
I feel your energy. Hey, it's coming through. Took me a century. Hey, get next to me. Plus mates and enemies. Hey, invested in you. So I feel your energy. Invested pursuit.
I never read the 48 line. The power of the dissy make a grown man cry. The day I came up out my mama, I saw a grown man cry. They say it has magic powers, even magic ain't die. Wake you about to sleep and take a 3 a.m. car ride. He said the booty, only thing between him and God. They love the booty, sacrifice their family and job. Badge make police feel powerful in the hood. Guns make us feel powerful, but they don't do no good. I know my blackness powerful and they don't like that. I know some niggas so dead, sit back and watch them tap dance. Bombs over Baghdad, they have a flag to brag about. Don't make you a big boy, cause you got a nice stack. Carolina home boy, you know we keep a stack house. It's power when you know the game. I'm feeling like a champ now. I went to rap, homie, get out the trap house. I want the power to be able to rap about what I rap about. Black child, God loving textiles, point blank, death smile, Steph Curry projectile. I saw the goal from 8 Mile.
As in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security revoked the Haitian temporary protected status. I haven't really heard a lot of conversation about it. It just I don't hear a lot of conversation about black people, black immigrants particularly, and what that struggle can look like and some of the things that they're going through, which is frustrating when we talk more about Russia than we talk about people who are actually here living in America trying to survive as best they can. All we can do is survive. All we can do is get by. But this is the issue that's happening with folks who are Haitian, who have come here as refugees. There are 58,000 folks who are Haitian who are under this TPS. There's 5,000 people in Massachusetts. There are 275,000 children of the Haitian refugees, just within the U.S. altogether, who will be affected by this ruling. So it's frustrating. Particularly, it's frustrating because we know that as it pertains to international politics, when there are things that are relating to people who are of African descent, we don't tend to control that dialogue. So when people get information, it often comes through propaganda, very Western-focused news with narrative-building concepts that promote whatever agenda that we have towards that particular country. Or then it's frustrating. It's frustrating as it relates to Haiti. People have gone through so much. The Haitian Revolution being what gave them their independence, and it still feels like, in various ways, to various countries and international dialogue, as it happens, that they're still having to pay for it, for being free, for wanting to be free. Oh man, it's one of those things that shake you. It shake you when you realize how real it is. Not just in your home and in the struggles that you have, me being American and dealing with things as it relates to the issue, but seeing a whole country who have freedom and have to suffer for it in these various ways, and then people who move to seek a better life and have to deal with being appreciated and being valued in terms of America being able to be the same thing for black folks as it is for everyone else who was allowed to come here and exist in the way they've been existing. It makes me think of the things that have happened with the Dreamers and the thing that Trump said a while back, and having to take it to Congress and try to find a solution so people don't have to be uprooted from their homes. And now you have another large group of folks who are immigrants to this land who have to face the same thing, the same type of issue. So they've been given an 18-month period to basically prepare themselves to go home, and we really have to wonder what type of infrastructure is in place in Haiti to be able to accept this large influx of people who will be having to return there. I can't imagine what it's like for families having to do that. I can't imagine what a child of somebody who was holding this, who's a citizen of the U.S., has to think when their parent might have to go back to Haiti. This, if you're a child to a place that who knows how many times you've been to, but you don't live there. Imperialism is a motherfucker, man. It is. It takes and it keeps taking, and once you've found freedom and liberation, there's other ways in which it seeks to confine you all the time. All the time. So the conditions for the temporary protected status to remain in place are such that armed conflict, environmental disaster, extraordinary and temporary conditions. And some of the solutions that have been placed out there right now is some acts that have been proposed in Congress, such as the American Promise Act of 2017 and the Secure Act. There was two things that were proposed by different legislators to be able to get this on Congress for Congress to make a decision. This also comes in the context of what Congress is like, very Republican controlled. And then you have a Republican president. I don't know, this white supremacist president, I don't even know if he's on the field of Republican, Democrat. But you can make the argument that the reason that white people tolerate 45 is because he's been advancing Republican strategies and talking points in a way that they couldn't do it would take them 20 years otherwise, and he just goes out there and says it. So people, they'll publicly defame it, but rock with it privately. The racism, as we see, that comes here, and who gets the benefit of the doubt, who gets to be treated to the full dearth of what humanity is. We see it play out not just interpersonally, but in international politics. We also see it just in the just general national political field. We see it in education. We see it in science. We see it in the prison industrial complex. But internationally, how you see the kind of, it almost seems like the simple racism that you experience on a day-to-day basis can happen internationally. People who have control of countries that have trillions of dollars in revenue can decide to deal with someone or some group of people differently based on their skin color, based on nationality, based on their ethnicity. That's daunting to me. I don't understand. I just when you're a child, you're a kid, you think about how big the world is, and you look out and you see all these people that come from all these different walks of life, and to look out and find out about a place and see a whole national perspective of something that doesn't want you to exist, or doesn't want you to be alive, that's not seeking to benefit you in any way. And it does it not only to you, but to people who look like you, who share your experience. Like, what is it like? You're a child. You believe that everybody's good. Everybody wants to see the best in the next person, but to see international politics be so clearly constructed in a way that follows a line of racism and like white supremacist, neo-Nazi rhetoric. We saw the declaration that Trump made as it relates to Jerusalem, earlier this week. And there's already talk of increased military conflict because he's undone decades of diplomatic work. It's just, I used to feel like I'm in an episode of The Twilight Zone, and somebody's watching me, and they're like, yo, this shit is wild. Like, you see that dude, that's the president. I don't know what's going to happen next. But this is real life. I've never been in a point in my life where this just doesn't feel real right now. I got to be dreaming. I got to wake up from this in some way. But then the fighter in me says, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to get everybody that I know who believe in what I believe in, and we're going to go hard until we get what we need and everybody's protected and taken care of. But people need to absolutely know about this temporary protected status and the 58,000 Haitian people in the United States that are affected by it. And we have to bring this as a conversation to people's lips so they know that immigration is not just a issue of those with a low melanin content. This is for people who all across the world. A lot of times the darker people get the shit end of the stick, and we have to remember those folks who are coming from international places who are not a part of this dialogue that we get to have in the Americas, because everybody's looking to us and then they focus on certain parts of us, but we have to be able to share that with people who don't get that light too. Just like when you had the Time magazine put these women on front, but didn't put the black woman who started the hashtag Me Too on there. I was trying to throw that in there because I ain't forget. I'm out here reading. Like, when they forget to add somebody in there, we as people who have this privilege and we occupy certain space, we got to pull them in there. So as a Black American, I got to pull in Haitians into this conversation too. When we talk about who we got to protect, who we got to make sure survives out here, because they're getting everybody. Hide your wife, hide your husband, your son, daughter, kids. We got to fight for this. So this is another issue that's coming up. The next rally is going to be held by the Haitian American United on January 10th, 2018. Make sure you come to that. We're going to take another break. I'm just feeling y'all's love and energy. You just sending it to me. I just need it in my life. We also make sure you send that to the Haitian folks who are out there hurting right now. I'll see y'all in a quick second.
Red stain on the concrete, disdain for the bare feet. Work, work, Makatongo. No perk for the bongo. Who press this charity? Who fresh from disparity? Who arms wide open? Who strange fruit smoking? Paint on a canvas, carved from a pancreas. Blue for the water, red for the daughter. Money, money, money. Green where the land was. First hand, second hand laws. Horn of the clock bite, thorn of the crown spike. Smile of the victor, child of the prisoner. Statues of martyrs, hackers as artists. Shout out to Atlantis. First hand, second hand us. Thorn of the crown spike, horn of the clock bite. Masters of institutions, masters of space and time, masters of great delusion, masters of the mind. I'm your master, I'm your master, I'm your master, yes, your master, yes, I am. I'm more master, get your master. I'm your master, get your master, yes, I am. Masters of institutions, masters of space and time, masters of great delusion, masters of the mind. She craves to be mastered, does what she has to. Born of the half-life, born on the path life. Questions and teaches, threatens and preaches. Do what you gotta, deny mother no martyrs. Who threatens the monarchy? Who presses the charity? Who eyes wide open? Who paid that token? Jumped over turnstile, calm on the crew ride. Born of the cross fight, born of the clock fight. Born of the clock fight. Who questions and teaches, threatens and preaches. Born of the clock fight, born of the clock fight. Hackers as artists, poses and martyrs. Born of the clock fight.
What up, y'all? How y'all feeling? Hopefully you feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm in that mood today. Have some water. Stay hydrated. If you're out there and you're stressed out, having a little bit of difficulty, make sure you stay hydrated. Got water right here. You take deep breaths and you pause. Entering this conversation, I want to give you those skills, a couple of tools that helps a little bit. 'Cause in the moment, to help, definitely taking a deep breath. Oftentimes, if I'm feeling myself a little wound up, I'll take a deep breath and I'll try to hold it and let it out as slowly as I can. Or sometimes I try to breathe in as slowly as I can and let it out as slowly as I can and try to see if I can hit like the minute mark for like one breath in and one breath out. And it's just real slow uptake and it's a real slow output. Reason I'm starting this conversation out with some skills for managing your stress level is because I want to have a conversation about therapy and seeing therapists. So on Black Lives Matter Boston's page, we recently posted an article talking about what it's like to get a therapist with a person of color, and it was an article about queer and trans experiences with therapists, and how those can be a little bit varied from those people who are not queer and having those interactions with people who are not of color, you're in a deeply vulnerable state and relying on this level of help as you go through life that other people may not be in a space yet where they have to deal with. So if you're struggling with something like a mental illness that is maybe a little bit longer than the 3 to 6 month span that a lot of them cover, it's super important for you to find somebody that you connect with and mesh with. So the article talks about the difficulty of queer and trans people of color to be able to find somebody that you connect with and mesh with. Giving you a little bit of backdrop. So the process of finding a therapist can often be a little daunting because not only do you have to find somebody who is within whatever demographic is most comfortable to you, you have to be able to vibe with them in a way in which they can find themselves to be helpful for you. So that often can be complicated when you are I speak from the position of being a person of color, not being able to speak from the position of being queer and trans, but being a person of color. If you're looking for somebody who's a person of color to be able to assist you in navigating your world, it is often not disentangled from the way in which we experience the world as being black. So for me, we use myself as an example. If I'm being a black person, I'm looking for somebody who can provide therapy for me, who can understand that experience, preferably a person of color, preferably black. So if you're in a position where you are a queer or trans person of color, there's an added level of difficulty to find somebody who can help you through whatever issues you're going through and not do harm. So there's an excellent article that's written by Ariel Gray that really profiles people within the Boston area and kind of their understandings and their experiences of navigating the mental health field, being queer and trans people of color. It's excellent. It's out on our Facebook page. I'll definitely make sure that I post it on the Twitter page so people can read that. I don't want to really spoil it for you because it's super excellent. But it did say at one point, this is a quote, a little bit of the statistics in there that 83% of psychologists were white in 2013. Psychologists being people who can practice and do testing and also provide therapy as well. And there's also a myriad of people who can give you therapeutic services that may not be psychologists, therapists, licensed clinicians, people that are within that realm, like myself, social workers, often also pastors, religious people who are in religious fields, they can provide some of that help and some of that healing. But thinking about therapy and how important it is for your life, you have to really realize the amount of trauma that we're dealing with on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I can speak for myself as an activist. I have to be aware of the death of Black people on a daily basis. I'm aware, hyper aware of Black people dying around me all the time. For me, managing my affect and going through things I do, it's just something that you have to feel like it's survival. You got to do that in order for me to do the work. But also, some things that will probably be innocuous to other people are traumatic for me. Like when people read the names of Black folks who died, it feels traumatic. I feel it's a whole list of things that I feel when you have to go through that. And then if you're going to a therapeutic place and you're trying to convey to them what it's like to be bombarded with incidents of Black death on the everyday, and having to explain to a white therapist who feels some type of way about Black Lives Matter how you feel about having to hear the names of the people that you advocate for being spoken in remembrance and how you got to deal with that, that can be hard, be impactful, because the very people who are charged with being able to help you through whatever issue are so ignorant and willfully so towards one particular part of your existence, that of which being your Blackness, and it's always being transformed and rephrased into different things. It's like, oh well, it's just becomes something like, well, race-based trauma, which is important, but then when you start talking about something very specific to Black people who haven't got reparations, then you start to run into the social duty that comes with being in those positions of healers, at least as we've been taught when we went to the different levels of schooling that people don't really want to deal with. I don't want to have any social responsibility to help you through the issues that you're managing through. I'm just going to talk to you about it and help you feel better within this moment. And for some people, that can be a little bit difficult. For people who are very marginalized and they need resources, they need help, they need understanding, and just how therapy looks is a little bit different. And a lot of the central tenets, the same. You've got unconditional positive regard, and people listening, and people helping. But when all of these things what you're going through are connected with these parts of the world that hurt you and harm you, and people are continually trying to find ways to ignore that, and that person who tries to find ways to ignore that might be the person that you go to for help. Damn, it feels like you can't win for losing. That's kind of one of those experiences that happens when it comes to figuring out how to navigate a world that looks and seeks opportunity for your demise. And you have to be able to be trusting in a way that you can find somebody, not only to search for a person who can give you some type of therapeutic assistance, but somebody who can do that and be beneficial. And then if you go and find somebody that doesn't work, you got to go out and try it again. I got to go through 2 or 3 motherfuckers before I figure out who going to help me through, with an issue of anxiety, depression, or whatever it is that you may be going through. How daunting is that? How frustrating is that to have a system of therapy that's already aligned to the positions and the thoughts of somebody who doesn't look like you, and who not only doesn't look like you, who is a part of the system that oppresses you. So you go into therapy with with a therapist who was taught the disposition and how to manage the disposition of a white male or a white female. And if you are anywhere outside of these spaces and understandings, it's hard to reach out and find help. And I can think of people who might be in rural Arkansas. Shout out to my state, Arkansas. What's up? Rural Arkansas, who don't have access. One of the significant things that impact people's willingness to go to therapy is your ability to literally get there. Your access, cost, being things, these ways that makes it a little bit more engageable in your everyday world. And if you can't get that, and you're surrounded by something that's supposed to be working for you that doesn't work for you, what you supposed to do? You know what this makes me think of? She's Gotta Have It on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, put it in your life. It'll give you a word from deep in your spirit about Black folks. But one thing I really love about the show is that there's dialogue between the main character and her therapist that happens throughout the show. And we don't see a lot of conversations that Black people have as it relates to the things they struggle with in media. We don't see those things very often. So you get to be able to watch her have this dialogue with her therapist throughout the show, and how she changes, and how she's challenged, and how she's vulnerable in a way that typically we don't bear witness to, and how the conditions of the world outside of the bubble that she lives in have affected her. One of those things being the 45 being elected, and you see all of these reverberations. And one of those things is that it comes through her conversations with her therapist. And as Black people particularly, we have to be able to find ways to seek healing. Absolutely finding Black therapists, and if therapy doesn't work for you, absolutely finding and acknowledging other ways of healing that can get you to a point where you're able to progress through your life. There's definitely been moments in my life, definitely been moments in people I know life, that you've been, that feels like you're walking through mud. And there's somebody who's come through and been able to help you through that. And having Black therapists, having Black social workers, having Black people within the healing professions in general is something that is worth investing in, and finding and seeking out those opportunities, because that healing that we never get to get, we feel like we're supposed to be strong and unbreakable, like Luke Cage. Like, we ain't nobody unbreakable. we might be able to deal with a lot more pressures than other people, but we're not immune, and we don't want to set ourselves up to be martyrs either. Remember the importance of mental health. Remember the importance of being able to take care of yourself. And absolutely, I want you all to check out this article by Ariel Gray that we put on our page on Blm Boston on Facebook, and we put it up on Twitter as well. It's written in Vice. You can look it up. If you put in POC therapist, you should be able to find it. Read that article, educate your mind, like just pour it into yourself and pour it into other people to be able to have a conversation about differential experiences as it relates to therapy, because we need it. We need it, y'all. I'm not playing. All right, you know what I'm saying? This is real, 100%. So I'm gonna come back around again. We're gonna continue this conversation. I'm gonna just love on you with my language, with my words. Maybe it might be harsh sometimes. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. You come back again. We'll see what mood I'm in. It could be different. It'll be varied up. But I'll catch y'all on the other side.
With all due respect, I don't have pity for you black niggas. That's the way I feel. Screaming Black Lives Matter, all the black guys rather be deadbeats than pay your bills. Yelling nigga this and nigga that. Call everybody nigga and get a nigga mad. As soon as I say nigga, then everyone react and wanna swing at me and call me racist cause I ain't black. We'll pound that then. Talking about slavery like you was around back then. Like you was picking cotton off the fucking ground back then. Like you was on the plantation getting down back then. Alright, look. I see a black man aiming his gun, but I'd rather see a black man claiming his son. And I don't mean just for one day and you done. I mean, you still trapped in a rut. And I work my ass off and pay my taxes for what? So you can keep living off free government assistance, food stamps for your children, but you still trying to sell them for some weed and some liquor or a fucking babysitter while you party on the road cause you ain't got no fucking goals? You already late. You motherfuckers need to get your damn priorities straight. Wait, it's like you proud to be fake, but you lazy as fuck. And you rather sell drugs and get a job and be straight, and then you turn around and complain about the poverty rate. Fuck out of my face. You can't escape problems. You can pray for some change, but can't break a dollar. Got nobody else to blame, so you blame Donald. They fucked the world with a Make America Great condom. My boy's been back. I'm not racist. My sister's boyfriend's black. I'm not racist. My sister-in-law's baby cousin Tracy got a brother and his girlfriend's black. My head's in the cloud. Heard there's not enough jobs for all the men in your house. Maybe we should build a wall to keep the Mexicans out. Or maybe we should send them all to the ghetto for now. I'm not racist. And I never lie, but I think there's a disconnect between your culture and mine. I worship the Einsteins, studied the Steve Jobs, but you ride Tupac's dick like he was a fucking god, oh my god. And all you care about is rapping and stunting and being ratchet, and that's the nigga within you. Music rot in your brain and slowly start to convince you. Then you let your kids listen and then the cycle continues. Blame it all on the menu, blame it on those drinks, blame it on everybody except for your own race. Blame it on white privileges, blame it on white kids, and just blame it on white citizens. Aim at the vice president. Bunch of class clowns. Niggas kneeling on the field, that's a flag down. How dare you try to make demands for this money? You gon' show us some respect, you gon' stand for this country, nigga. I'm not racist. I'm just prepared for this type of war. I heard Eminem's rap at the awards. Who's he fighting for? Y'all can take that motherfucker too, he ain't white no more. Just like you wanna be so famous, you'll do anything for attention and a little payment. I can't take you nowhere without people pointing fingers. Pants hanging off your ass, you ain't got no home training. Put your fucking pants up, nigga. Put that suit back on, take that do-rag off. Take that gold out your mouth, quit the pitiful stuff. And then maybe police will stop killing you fucks. So what the fuck? I'm not racist. It's like we're living in the same building but split into 2 floors. I'm not racist. But there's 2 sides to every story. I wish that I knew yours. I wish that I knew yours. I'm not racist. I swear. With all disrespect, I don't really like you white motherfuckers. That's just where I'm at. Screaming all lives matter is a protest to my protest. What kind of shit is that? And that's one war you'll never win. The power in the word nigga is a different sin. We shouldn't say it, but we do, and that's just what it is. But that don't mean that you can say it just cause you got nigga friends. Nigga. That word was originated for you to keep us under. And when we use it, we know that's just how we greet each other. And when you use it, we know there's a double meaning under. And even if I wasn't picking cotton physically, that don't mean I'm not infected by the history. My grandmama was a slave, that shit gets to me, and you ain't got no motherfucking sympathy, you pussy nigga. I'm sorry, you can never feel my life. Trying to have faith, but I never felt alright. It's hard to elevate when this country's ran by whites, judging me by my skin color and my blackness. Trying to find a job, but ain't nobody call me back yet. Now I gotta sell drugs and put food in my cabinet. You crackers ain't slick, this is all a part of your tactics. Don't talk about no motherfucking taxes when I ain't making no dough. You think you know everything, but you don't. You wanna copy our slang and everything that we know. Try to steal black culture and make it your own. Whoa. Fuck, I'm exhausted. I can't even drive without the cops trying to start shit. I'm tired of this systematic racism bullshit. All you do is false shit, this the shit that I'm false with. And you don't know shit about my people, that's what bothers you. You don't know about no fried chicken or no barbecue. You don't know about the two-step or no loose change. You don't know about no 2 chains or no Kool-Aid. You don't know. And even though Barack was half as black, you hated President Obama, I know that's a fact. You couldn't wait to get him out and put a cracker back. And then you gave us Donald Trump and I was payback for that. I'm not racist. I never lied, but I noticed a disconnect between your culture and mine. Yeah, I praised Tupac like he was a fucking god. He was fighting for his life way before he fucking died, nigga. Die, nigga. And all you care about is money and power and being ugly, and that's the cracking within you. Hatred all in your brain that slowly start to convince you. Then you teach it to your children until the cycle continue. Blame it on Puerto Rico, blame it on OJ, blame it on everybody except for your own race. Blame it on black niggas and blame it on black citizens. Aim at the black businesses. I ain't saying I'm innocent, but I might be any day now. Treating everybody how you want in any way how. I swear North Korea about to bomb us any day now. And now I'm ducking every time I hear a fucking plane now. Shit. You know I make a lot of sense, but you just can't admit it. When Eminem went against Trump, that was the illest. Cause even though he's white, he let us know he's standing with us. I'm not racist, but I cry a lot. You don't know what it's like to be in a frying pot. You don't know what it's like to mind your business and get stopped by the cops. And I know if you about to die or not. You worry about your life, so you take mine. I love you, but I fucking hate you at the same time. I wish we could trade shoes so we could change lives so we can understand each other more, but that'll take time. I'm not racist. It's like we living in the same building but split into both sides. I'm not racist. But there's 2 sides to every story, and now you know mine. Can't erase the scars with a bandage.
What up, world? I'm back again with the not white bands. I wear the Converse. Bands is kind of whack. I was into them for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Then I've been reading up a little bit about Congress recently pushed through legislation to allow people, make it a little bit easier for people to carry concealed weapons across state lines. And, you know, largely a Republican vote, or maybe a couple of Democrats voted in agreement with it as well. When you start talking with, you know, about white people, yeah, and I mean white people, and about the ability to protect oneself, it becomes painfully apparent upon further investigation how those conversations aren't about you. And oftentimes it's in defense against you, using this kind of racially coded language to promote people as predators, to kind of enforce people's right to defend themselves. You can ask the NRA about that, or watch their videos. They're on YouTube. Kind of ridiculous. You should see that. It's important to know like the opinions and positions of the opposition, and what makes them the opposition is how little they had to say when black folks who had concealed carry license got killed by the police. They didn't say shit, not a motherfucking word, and be real quick to get people to advocate for them on their side, and how people are trying to take away their guns and calling people snowflakes, and I don't know where that came from. I don't know like why snowflake is even the representation of it. It's just all of these things happening, and then when I think about carrying things across state lines and the unwillingness of Congress to really act on having tougher gun legislation, or at least some gun legislation that reflects the concern with the random acts of gun violence that have happened largely at the hands of white men. I just get perplexed. I get confused at how we get to that. Now my mind is always on blackness all the time. So when I think about crossing state lines, I think about Jack Johnson and how he was criminalized for bringing a white woman cross state lines for immoral purposes. I want to say, and these are the laws. I didn't make the laws. I'm just telling you that what existed. But like that, the idea of state lines. Or I think about state lines. I think about the Missouri Compromise or the Mason-Dixon line. You know, lines for black people oftentimes meant freedom or slavery, freedom or death. You know, the railroad crossing lines was oftentimes those lines that marked off different communities where you knew where not to go because the white folks stayed on one side and black folks stayed on the other side. Or how transportation, roads, and highways were rammed through black communities as a way to really disrupt our progress, and how we were segregated by the terrain itself from the white people in certain areas. And when we started to move across those lines, they started to move out or start breaking our shit or lynching us or creating laws that made it so they can move in whatever way they want. Or they have this even legally, like gerrymandering and creating voting districts in a way that benefits particular parties. It's just lines. The lines, I feel like I'm about to go into a poem. I'm not even writing. I'm not a poet though. But when I think about lines and how people are so unwilling to draw them, I can't even say I get afraid. I'm confused. That's what I really am. It's confused because there's the line opportunity to draw lines in the sand is many of them have come up. And as we come into this week 45, the impeachment papers being being withheld for advancement. I can't remember what the exact terminology was. You know, there's a line that was drawn. It's like we can cross this if we want to, but for some reason it's not considered to be legally expedient right now. But lines, how come it's that people are never willing to cross lines for black folks, for people who look like us, people who with dark skin, and you know that dream for great things? Like, how come those lines aren't ever crossed for us? I think that's a perplexing thing with black folks who are doing this work, and the idea of allies. You know, we constantly have to negotiate with when do we bring people into spaces to help us, to assist us with our revolutionary radical dreams. You know, when you bring them into those spaces, and when there's time to cross a line, whether it be social or illegal or otherwise, man, are they gonna come with you? It's like, I have to look people in the eye all the time. Like, yeah, when it get hot, are you gonna really be there though? Because you're not sure. You're not sure. I mean, activists is filled with uncertainty, not just the type of kind of like grassroots activists that, you know, I may be, but I mean, being an activist and just you coming from a marginalized place, particularly black folks, you just don't know when people are gonna ride with you. And as black people, we're expected to fuck with everybody. You know, cool, calm. Oh yeah, everybody knows Tyrone. You know, everybody knows him. Oh, he's cool. He's happy. And we have to find these ways to navigate positions with people so that when something happens, you know, we can have those relationships. But how often is it that you can be sure that somebody is going to be with you when there's time to draw a line, across a line, to hold a line? How do you know? How do you, how do you know? You know, that's a difficult question to answer. You know, I wonder when it comes to, we talk about allies, we talk about people who are really down and they about it. Now I'm with you. They got the Black Lives Matter shirt. They got a couple of them in different colors because they ready for it anytime. And they with you, but do you know if they're gonna be down to cross that line with you? You know how many? I remember when they're out in Boston. For folks who ain't from Boston, you know, there was a lot of activists who went to the bridge and stopped traffic on I-95, I-93. I can't remember which one. And the conversations that came out of that, people was like, "Oh, well, it's not the right time." I was like, "There's so many other ways you can do it." And it's like, but I was like, "Nigga, where was you at when there was time to organize? Where was you at the meetings and the preparation for all these other ways that you could have put 100 bodies in the state house and you can get whatever Congress person to lobby whatever way that you want them to? Where was you at though? You was busy. You was at work. You know, you was at home. You was watching Netflix. Your new show just came out. You didn't feel like it. It was too cold outside. Oh, your knee was hurting. It was bad that day. You had a headache. Or maybe you had an obligation. Oh, it was date night. Where was you at when it was time to cross them lines? I just can't understand how we end up getting caught in these situations over and over again. So thinking about this situation, going back to the beginning thing about this gun legislation problem. Guns being an issue in America because people just pull up and shoot if there's a thing. And then random acts of violence just happen so much. And there's not a line drawn by something that people were so passionate about. This is something that, you know, white people generally are very strongly aligned about. It's like, man, if they can't even get together for that, what they gonna do for me? You know what I mean? What are they gonna do for folks that look like me, who think like me, who act like me? And like, what? So when do you reach across the line to pull somebody within your ranks? How do you decide? And that's ultimately one of the vulnerabilities that you deal with as an activist, as an organizer, is figuring out when to cross lines, when to take risks, when to bring this person in, when to move that person out, and then watching as the world draws lines here around this thing. Even with 45, people seem tentative in their willingness to like say, "Yo, you've crossed the line." It's just like, what am I watching right now? Were there people in different conflicts, genocidal incidents in the different various nations? Were there folks who felt like I do, who like, what the fuck is going on right now? Were there folks like that? Was there things like that? I'm like, what? What is it? When do you draw the line? When do you say enough is enough? And how is it that you decide to do it? I've watched too many people say that they feel so passionate about something that they do nothing about, you know, and passionately do nothing. They're like, I couldn't do it. You don't know my capacity. You know, I was busy. I had so many other things. Passionately unwilling to cross certain lines, and consistently. I'm not saying like one time. I mean consistently in just all different types of spaces. And you look around and you see very few people. There's very few people that I know, like some it get hot and I can rely on you. But it's just wild to me to watch this incidents where you're trying to figure out when people are going to cross lines and when they're not going to do it. And you have an issue as it relates to gun violence, and people ain't going to do it. We ain't talking about gun violence with police officers, because somehow when we talk about gun violence, niggas think they don't mean like armed folks coming up with weapons. If you got a disturbance, or if somebody is too loud, you inviting armed white men into your house, and you like, that's not gun violence. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. They're like playing mind tricks, playing mind games. Like, I don't know. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But I want to know from people, where is a line that you draw? Where is the line that you respect? When did you draw your own line in the sand and say, look, you know what? You ain't going no further, and if you cross this line, it's going to be problems. I want to know that. And I feel like for America, I don't see it. Everybody's soft. Nobody's willing to go hard for the things that you believe in. It's gonna come a time. Gonna come a time where you have to determine where you stand. And people are so worried about losing stuff. And I think things are coming to the point where it's going to be far bigger than what you can lose. It's going to be about what your community loses. If you do nothing, there is no other person. It's only you. That's where my mind is. But that's where I'm at. I'm just raw, real, uncut, real Martin right here. Real live. Every day, this is how I feel all the time. I wake up feeling like this. I don't know what to do with myself. You know, I have to know. But I want, importantly, for the people that's listening, for y'all to know. Know what it is you stand for. Know what it is that you going to say no to. I like saying no. I enjoy it. It makes me feel good. Because I know that's my boundary. Don't cross it or it's going to be an issue. We're going to have to, don't do that. I want y'all to think about that. Meditate on it. Sit in Indian style. Put your hands open. Let the universe come to you and figure out something. And I'm going to catch y'all on this other side.
Another soul is broken. It's always kind of funny how you find out how they're coping. So he asked me how I'm coping, and I asked him if he noticed. I said, listen boy, I'm focused. I said, me I drink pine and ginger, and mommy for wine pan thing I'm gonna play that. Me I drink pine and ginger, and mommy for wine pan thing I'm gonna play that. And mouth the rum and all the sorrow, and mouth you drink away him sorrow. Guess I'm not care about tomorrow. I guess I'm not care about tomorrow. Me I drink pine and ginger, and mommy for wine pan thing I'm gonna play that. And I drink pine and ginger, and mommy for wine pan thing I'm gonna play that. And mouth the rum and all the sorrow. I drink away in sorrow. I guess I'm not care about tomorrow. I guess I'm not care about tomorrow.
She have the pine with the ginger. Spliff like time, girl, I get injured. Miss right wine, never you linger. Move quick like Jackie Chan ninja. When me in ya, me tell her if you wine pandy, wine pandy, wine pandy thing. Climb for the, climb for the, climb for the king. But all now me I sing, me I pray she no move from my drink. She a sip
pine and ginger. And want me for wine pandy thing, I'm gonna play that. I drink pine and ginger, and want me for wine pan thing I'm gonna play that. And mouth the rum and all the sorrow. Guess I'm a drink away in sorrow. I guess I'm not care about tomorrow. I guess I'm not care about tomorrow. And mouth the butter not to leave. And mouth the butter not to leave. And mouth the butter not to leave. Put the fire to the split, smoke away for release. And mouth the butter not to leave. And mouth the butter not to leave. And mouth the butter not to leave. Put the fire to the split, smoke away for release. Me I drink pine and ginger, and want me for wine pan thing I'm gonna play that. Me I drink pine and ginger, and want me for wine pan thing I'm gonna play that. And mouth the rum and all the sorrow. Guess I'm a drink away him sorrow. I guess I'm not care about tomorrow. I guess I'm not care about tomorrow.
She a sip pine and ginger. Me tell her if you wine pan the thing, but she no play that. She a sip pine and ginger. Me tell her if you wine pan the thing, but she no play that. She have the rum in the sorrow. She tell me I drink away my sorrows. She said me not care about tomorrow. I guess me not care about tomorrow.
I guess I'm not care about tomorrow. Everybody's coping, whether drinking, whether smoking, whether writing out a song, penning the paper to the open. I said everybody's coping, whether drinking, whether smoking, whether writing down a song, penning the paper to the open. I said everybody's coping, whether drinking.
Hey, y'all. I want to put y'all up on something that's happening tomorrow. There's a free screening of Whose Streets documentary happening at St. John's Episcopal Church, 1 Roanoke Ave, Jamaica Plain. Check it out. That's something that's an event that we're promoting with Boston Liberation Health, and the meeting point. It's a great movie. It's a great conversation about what happened in the Ferguson uprising. You get to see it live and in living color, up close and personal, right in your face. So you don't have to go to anybody else to figure out what happened. Here's a documentary that somebody can just gifted you with, saying what's real and what's out here. I wanted to tell y'all a story that I told earlier tonight. I went to the Vigil for Black Lives anniversary at St. Baptist. At Baptist Church in Center Street, First Baptist. And I was telling them about the first time I got put onto BLM, and basically what happened is I was at a training and we were talking about direct action, and there was an instance where we were doing some type of simulation about what would happen if the police came, and we were setting up our installation or whatever it was, or chaining ourselves to whatever thing had been decided about, or blocking the road or what have you. And within this simulated event where we were kind of going through the whole way in which it would play out if a direct action were to happen, and people playing different roles, and you had a group who was activist group who was representative police, there's an opportunity to leave one of them behind in order to, I guess, preserve the action. And so we come to this part in this, and my friend is like, who's like, we're about to leave somebody out. She's like, no. She's like, no. She's like, or BLM, we don't leave people behind. I'm like, what? She's like, no. She's like, no, adamantly, we don't leave people behind. I was like, and she like looks at me like, we would never leave you behind. Look at me straight in my face. We don't do that. We don't leave people behind. I was like, what is happening right now? And I was just so taken with that. I was like, yo, this energy is amazing. Is this real? Is this what's up? I was looking around different activist groups wanting to get engaged. So like, BLM, we don't leave people behind. I remember that very vividly, her saying that, and that from that conversation at this, we just met by chance at this training. That's how I got involved in Black Lives Matter Boston. And when I think, and what I was telling them earlier, when I go out and I talk to people about what's happening, I want to find that same energy of people who are so about it. They say, like, we not leaving nobody behind. We gonna work until everybody gets it. Everybody gets saved. There's no boat that's gonna leave anybody thrown out into the water, or no cart they can't carry something. Like, we're taking everybody. And I was so moved by that. And I know when I go out to places that there's somebody who can embody that spirit of like, we will not leave people behind. Because it's just so easy to start making decisions about who stays and who goes and what the end will be when the stakes get high, when it gets hot, when things get sharp out and you're feeling those uncomfortable feelings. But like, the idea of not leaving somebody behind is something that we all have to embody when we're thinking about activism. We're thinking about movement for change. We're thinking about the movement for Black Lives and all the organizations that are within it. This idea that we're not leaving anybody behind. So often with the way in which our Eurocentric culture exists, it stratifies us into different groups of varying levels of importance, and people are put in one level where they're not as important, another level who's more important, and that's how the justification is made, that somebody should be left behind. But we got to make sure that we're all equal within how we understand each other. We're different in varied experiences and perspectives. And we treat each other equitable. And we don't leave nobody behind in any way. And as for me, that's as it relates to immigration, as it relates to queer and trans issues, it relates to health, as it relates to education. I'm not leaving nobody behind. I cannot do that. I can't. It's not in my being. It's not in my spirit. And I'm always looking for people who are on the same thing, same wavelength. I'm trying to vibe where we are not leaving anybody behind. Fighters, lovers, healers, whatever it is. And we all in this together. I seek that out, and I hope that for you and whoever's in your space, or whoever's with you and whoever's listening, that I want to see that spirit in you, and hopefully that you can invoke that in people around you. All right, y'all, I've been talking. And hopefully you've been listening. If you ain't been listening, I'm going to keep talking. Damn it. Because that's how I move. I love y'all. And don't forget to check out the Insight Radio app on YouTube. And check us out every 7 o'clock to 8:30 every Thursday. Our page, Black Lives Matter Boston, on Facebook, at Blm Boston on Twitter. And I'm Martin Henson. My pronouns are he, him, his. I will see y'all next week.
My